Welcome to the Health Walk Podcast. If you're ready to feel vibrant, grounded, energized, and drop the extra weight, you found the right place for your midlife reboot. I'm Jacqueline, a certified health coach, your cheerleader, and fellow midlife woman. On this podcast, I'll provide methods to help you manage your hormones, action steps to take care of yourself, and move you to the top of your priority list, sustainable ways to lose the weight that is no longer yours to carry, and so much more. I hope the sisterhood you find here lifts you up because you aren't meant to do this alone. So slip on those walking shoes or relax in your chair. Exhale and release all that overwhelm. Let's walk on this path to whole healing together, one beautiful step at a time. Here we go. Welcome back to another episode of the Health Walk Podcast. In this episode, I want to share with you about a season in my life where everything felt loud. My mind was always racing. Did I do this right? Did I do enough? Is everything okay? Did everyone get what they needed? How will this happen? How will that happen? Physically, my body was often exhausted. I was sore and achy, and I just couldn't explain why. And spiritually, I really felt disconnected. I was trying to do all the right things, but really I felt I was exhausted. And it was like my inner harmony had been replaced with static, just noise. And one morning I was just sitting there before everything started buzzing again for the day. And I just thought to myself, what does harmony and living with an inner calm, what does that even mean? What does that look like, for children, homeschooling, and managing the home and doing all these things from scratch and et cetera, and just trying to be useful in my home, but to society and to my church and things like that. I was like, what does this all even really look like? So I used to think it was all about balance, right? And the truth is, balance is actually unsustainable. The reality is that some activities and people will require more time and care than other things. So balance is not really realistic. But I've also come to believe it's deeper than just balance. Truly, it's about harmony and flow. Harmony, being in sync, just with your body, your mind, with God. And it's this peace that comes when everything within feels like it's finally on the same page, when you aren't betraying yourself just to stay afloat or to people please, right? But let me tell you, stress, that chronic stress, it knocks everything out of tune. Harmony gone. And suddenly we're reacting instead of responding. Nervous system is on high alert and we forget how to breathe. I forgot to just breathe, shoulders shrugged up, jaw tight, brow vexed, and in thought, just always in thought about one thing or another. And it wasn't working to carry on like that. And that's when I had to slow down and try to weave in small routines and rituals, gentle, morning breath work. I tried tapping, stretching, and even I honestly, I felt a little silly doing this at first, but placing my hand on my heart and reminding myself, you're okay. You're safe. You're here. God is here and it's going to be fine. And those little things didn't necessarily fix everything overnight because there were a lot of parts of my life that had to be recalibrated, but it softened the noise. And it was a great start to a journey to home to myself. So from there, something else started to awaken in me, and that's empowerment. I started to remember I had the power to choose. Everything that was happening to me, I had the power to choose which were going to happen and which needed to stop. I could choose calm. I could move at a pace that allowed for grace and for imperfection. And those who didn't allow that maybe didn't need to be in my inner circle. And this was a little bit quieter. I was more rooted. And that empowerment blew winds of life under my exhausted wings. And I realized empowerment wasn't about doing more. It was about doing what actually supports my soul, my body, my emotions, my spirit, my needs, right? And I stopped setting goals that were more shame-based or where I felt like I had to keep up with something that wasn't really for me. It may have been good for someone else, or it may be a good in theory, but it wasn't working for me. I started setting goals that honored me and how I made and the strengths that I had. So it wasn't about losing weight, but moving with joy or strengthening my body. It wasn't do more, but it was protect my peace, be intentional, live with purpose. And another thing in that season that I started to do was journaling. I didn't do it every day because, again, it's not about perfection or shaming yourself into it, but journaling helped me. And I would, ask myself questions like, what is draining me and what is giving me life? And writing that down every day is helpful, or as often as you can, you begin to see a pattern of the things that are draining you and not life giving. And the answers were really surprising, and they were always clarifying. Yeah, they weren't always. I mean, sometimes they were surprising. Sometimes it was very evident, like I had a knowing of what was draining me, but I was avoiding facing the fact that XYZ was draining me. But that practice was always really clarifying, and that's where awareness really began to bloom for me. I started noticing little signals, the tension in my shoulders after a conversation with certain people, the calm after a walk in nature, the peace I felt after a conversation with certain people, the anxiety that crept in every time I said yes and I really wanted to say no. See, our bodies were so beautifully designed with wisdom that our bodies are constantly trying to tell us the truth. We just have to actually listen. And oftentimes I could hear the truth my body was telling me and I ignored it because I'm like, oh, well, maybe this and maybe that. But after I started to become more aware, and I would take pauses to breathe, to think, and ask myself the question, what do I really need right now? And that was a game changer for me. But maybe the biggest shift that came when I finally embraced all this part of my journey was love. Nope, not romantic love, not love that I had to earn, not the kind reserved for my best days when I'm looking great and feeling great and big smile on my face, but the kind I forgot to give myself. For years, I showed up for everyone else and left nothing for myself. And I thought self-love was indulgent pedicure spa days and things like that. Self-love is not indulgent. It is a rebellion against the lie that says we're only worthy when we're producing something and we're doing something. So I started to shift my thinking and the kind of things I put into my mind. And I started speaking to myself like someone I actually loved, right? I'm not behind. I'm just becoming. My voice matters. I don't have to shrink myself to be loved. I'm loved completely. God gives me strength to say no. I honor the season I'm in. My body is not my enemy. I am not responsible for everyone's emotions. And I began to walk in boldness. How I spoke to myself changed, and it really gave me boldness. Each word I spoke, a seed was planted in the soil of my healing. And maybe that's where this whole journey is. It's a return to harmony. It's a return to peace. It's a return to power. It's return to awareness, to love, and to you. So before you move on with your day, I want you to take a 60-second pause. Put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what do I need right now? And that is your next step. Till the next episode, take care of yourself. Thank you for the gift of your time today. I hope today's episode felt like a breath of fresh air you didn't even know you needed. And just in case no one's told you lately, you are worth it. If you found this episode helpful, it would mean so much if you'd follow the show, leave a quick review, or send it to a friend who's walking through her own beautiful midlife mess. Let's build this community of women who are done just getting by and ready to feel amazing again. And hey, if you're looking for more support, head over to the show notes with a link where we can stay connected. Remember this, you are worthy of the same love and energy you pour into everyone else. Be gentle with yourself, and I'll see you next time, same place, same heart, one powerful step at a time. Till next time, enjoy your journey.